So,
Okay.
yeah, say it again.
Will you apply the same thing for the aborted and the loss that the one is not acknowledged because you don't know that it's been lost?
Yeah.
Apply the same thing? Yes,
Yeah.
because remember in my constellation that then the child says, please look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the
So the
mother's in
child
denial,
does
yes.
talk to the mother. Yeah, please look at me if it's not acknowledged. And then it could be a surprise to the mother. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. It's possible. Yeah. So that depends on the situation. You see, there's no standard answer, but you will see the dynamic as soon as the dynamic shows up. And then you can use our 3 strong words to suss out in which relationship they are towards each other, and then finding what mends.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then two more questions, because I facilitated a constellation, and there I looked at the notes. That was like one of those rare cases where the interrupted movement was towards the father.
Yeah.
So my question is, in that case, I am supposed to reestablish the flow of love anyway, but what the child asks for is strength or protection rather than, because I was impressed by the
Yeah.
fact that so the girl, the client, the representative for the client wasn't able to say, because the father left her right after the birth or even before, she wasn't even able to say, the protection you gave me made it possible for me to leave. So we had to go back to, because you offer your seed, I'm alive.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, I agree.
But
That's
she
all you can do.
reacted like kind of violently when I asked her to say, you feeded me and you
Yeah,
love,
because you didn't.
and
Yeah.
but it's
Because you
like, is
didn't.
that a specific case of that client of mine, or is it
No, no,
something?
no, no. That's logic. That's just pure logic. When the father was never there at all in the life of somebody, then nothing of this works, right? Nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
Only that you have created me works.
yeah,
You
but
gave me
then
life. That's it.
she still needed the strength of the masculine from him, so she should still.
Well, how do we know what she needs?
No, I just tried different words. She finally
Mm.
accepted to say that about strength and protection
Yeah.
on a more energetic level rather than.
Okay. Well, that's fine then. Yeah.
But my
Hmm.
question was like, is one, as a facilitator, is one not supposed to refer to feeding or loving when it's a father you
No.
talk? No,
Yeah,
it's
love.
just
Love is always good, but not
okay.
feeding. I don't think so.
Okay.
No, wouldn't do feeding.
Okay. And, okay. And one last question is, using the figurines, one of the representative asked me to be put on the head of another figurine.
Yeah. How's that look?
Because I have this cow
Yeah.
and she was lying down like this because it was a dead.
Yeah.
So the other representative asked me to put him here.
Aha.
Is that something I can do? Because it's like, in this case, I can do it because of the cow, of the shape of the cow. But
Yeah.
is it something that I shouldn't allow?
Well, I wouldn't.
Okay, yeah.
Would you allow it if is the mother and then this is the child, like sort of, I don't know, maybe
No.
not,
Now
because
stay
it's lying
with
down.
the
It's lying
movement,
down.
you know. Stay with the movement, you know. Look, this is, you never know where you are ending up if you're not staying with the movement and the words that you know.
Now, this was when setting it. I asked, where do you want to be on the board? And I asked this,
But look what I'm saying, Francesca, is the movement of one representative towards the other to sit on top is not a standard movement that you learn in the course. So I say stick with the movements you learn in the course and don't do anything else. And the words we learn here, because you can go completely astray into family drama rather than family constellation. Yeah. So
this
just
wasn't
stick
a
with-
movement. This was when setting the board. She asked me, like, where do you want to be put when I put your figure on the board? She asked me, I want to be on top of the other character.
That is
It
a
wasn't a-
movement. Well, that is a movement. She wants to move the figurine on top of somebody else. What else is this? It's not a word. It's not a gesture. That's a movement. Or what? I don't understand. What's the question?
It's like, it's not that during the constellation she wanted to jump on top of the.
That is a constellation. You start a constellation by placing figurines. That you start the movement by choosing a figurine, and then the first movement is where to put them.
Yeah, but then I don't understand what you mean when you say stick to the movement,
The movement.
Well,
would
the
be-
movement. The movement is not to try to stack figurines on top of each other, right? That's not the movement that we do.
So it's just
So-
about taking a spot in the space.
Yeah, just let her find a space, but not on top of somebody else, because you don't know where to go from there. You just,
It's like the rules of the game, and then you stick to that. And if someone says, I want to be off the board because I can't stand that one, no, the game is in here,
I like that,
in the board.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
if
good.
you have
Space.
and if you have correct figurines, you can't do this anyway.
No,
Is there such a thing as correct figurines?
no, not
I mean,
correct.
I mean,
Gabriele,
a cow for me is not the it's just, I wouldn't take a cow as a
Well, I would
figurine.
have,
so anyhow,
Yeah.
if you have human figurines like
Yeah.
whatever, Playmobil or wooden figurines or whatnot, you cannot stack them on top
Yeah,
of each
you
other.
couldn't do
Playmobil
this.
to allow that very much.
So that
So
again,
can we just
especially
round
if
it
they're
up?
laying
We are
down.
completely going off
Playmobil do
topic.
allow that very
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Okay,
No, I just get nervous when you say it's a stupid question, while it is something that may
No, it's not a
happen. So
stupid question. I didn't say it's stupid, Francesca. I said
No, she
I just
said when you
answered your
use
question.
proper
stick
figurines,
with
it's
the
not a
movement.
thing. That's
Hmm?
not a thing.
It's my
Because
opinion.
Gabriella
It's
said
my
when you
opinion.
use proper
course.
figurines, that's not a thing. That's not a thing, because if I use Lego and lay them down, I can pile them up as many as I want.
So I think we are completely going astray here.
Yeah.
Let's stick with the teaching content. We are
Yeah.
at part 2 of module 5, where we are going. We did the figurines last time, so today we do everything else that we can do in a one-on-one session. And I by the way, I have updated my my noise reduction software, so I hope the mic is better today. Let me know when it falls out again. I hope it was just the update. Is it good to now? It's good. 2 thumbs up. Okay, cool. So let's share. My slides with you. Here we go. So what are we talking about today? And it's full of practical applications as well today. We're talking about internal constellations, and we do a training session with it, and what that is and how we do it. We're talking about floor anchors. We're talking about essential oils, breathing, meditation, troubleshooting in one-on-ones, and we do lots of exercises. So that's what you can expect of today. Starting with internal constellation. When you work one-on-one, the alternative or the other option to work with objects, while being figurines are also objects, So the alternative to work with objects is to work internally, right? What I mean with internal constellation is you do not use objects, right? So you neither use persons, because person or people are in the workshop and we are in a one-on-one, so there's no people, and you don't use objects neither. So you literally sit down with your client and nothing else in the room. Yeah. And that is what I call an internal constellation, because it happens completely internalized in the client. Right. So how does that look? You can basically use everything you've learned and experienced about and in family constellations to perform or facilitate an internal constellation in the one-on-one session. That means you're following you're just following the setup of a one-on-one session with an intro into family constellation one-on-one session where you interview your client. Then you have the actual constellation where you don't use figurines, but that's going to be internal. And then you do your outro, if you will, leaving the field, and that's all the same. You use everything that you have learned, which you would apply in a workshop setting or with the figurines in an internal constellation as well. You use the movements of the souls that you know, you find the dynamics, you use the words, and you find that what means. That's all the same in an internal constellation. There's nothing special about it. It's exactly how it works. The only difference is you don't have representatives neither in people nor in figurines. So how does that work? So the question is then, who is facilitating, constellating, and representing, right? That's a good question. So obviously you are facilitating still. You are still the facilitator. The client, however, is doing both. The client is constellating and representing each person of the family member, each member of the family system, I want to say. So the client is representing them all. And that looks like, well, I will make a demonstration. So let's not try to memorize that. So you have the intro and the setup. You will talk about family constellation. If it's the first-timer client, what to expect, how that works, maybe even. And then you would ask your client what's the issue. And then you let the client talk. Oh, I mute you. And then you let the client talk if you want to, longer or shorter, about the issue. And then you are starting with the session. Now, the session in an internal constellation always starts with closing eyes. That's the only way for the client to be able to internalize. Yeah. So other than in all other situations where you want the eyes of the client and the representatives open, in the internal constellation, you want the eyes to be closed. And then you want to guide your client into the alpha state. Meaning the state where the client is relaxed. You might see this rapid eye movement under the lids of the eyes. That's all signs for alpha state. And then once your client is in alpha state, you are starting with a constellation like, who do you see? Who's coming up? You know? And then there will be an answer. There will be father, mother, this or that, or ancestors, or somebody she or he doesn't know. That doesn't matter. That is a person as if it would be represented. Or if you know already how you want to start the constellation, you would ask your client, now imagine you see your father and your grandfather in front of you. Of course, all with eyes closed. And then you always have to assure yourself and the client that this is actually the case, because you don't see what the client is seeing. You have to ask the whole way what they see, right? You cannot assume just because you say, imagine your father, that they actually see it, him, right? So you say, imagine your father and your grandfather behind him. That's like you would place representatives for your client in the workshop. And then ask the client, do you see your father? And then there's just two options, yes or no. If the client sees the father, great, you go ahead. If your client doesn't see the father, you ask them, do you see somebody else? Right? And if they see nothing, then you probably go with the spiritual colors. Do you see a color? You just go with something that you can start constellating with, right? And if the client says, I see nothing, I feel nothing, I see nothing, there's nothing, then you can go into a guided meditation. That means you can guide your client into a meditation to connect with the family system, because obviously he or she is not connected with the morphic field. Yeah. And we will practice that today. Virna, do you want to ask it now, or can you ask it when I'm finished with my shout?
It's in regards to that. You said ask the client to imagine that there is the father and the grandfather at the back, and then ask if they can see the father.
Yeah. The
Is it back?
grandfather behind the father. Virna. You see the father, and behind that, in the back, the grandfather of the father, not behind your back.
Oh, no, behind my back. Okay. I was going to say I can't see it definitely.
No, that's not gonna work. Right. So, okay, that's a good question, actually, Virna. If you ask your client, can you see the father, and they say no, then you can also suggest turn around, because the father is might behind the client. Yeah. So before you come to the conclusion, the client sees nothing and is not connected to the field, and you have to go into the guided meditation to connect him with the family system, you have to inquire first the virtual space of your client, whether there is somewhere a person to work with, right? So behind or at the side or whatnot. And then you go ahead as if it would be a family concept. You would ask the client, okay, now let's assume he sees his father. You would how does the father look? So the client have to refer to you everything that you need to know to facilitate. So the client would say, okay, the father looks angry at me, or what? So you're in a constellation. You can literally see it in front of you, and you know how to work with that. Or it says the father doesn't look at me. Then you always ask the client, how do you feel? Obviously, I mean, you do that anyhow in every constellation, also in an internal constellation. The most important question is, how does it feel for the client? And then he would tell you the emotion, and then you would go with that. No. So as a matter of example, if the client says, oh, I'm really sad, then you would suggest to the client, acknowledging what is, look at your dad and say to him, I feel sad, or you make me sad, or something like that. And then you would ask the client, does your father look at you now? And most likely he would say, yes, now he's looking at me. And is he still angry? And then you said, well, he doesn't see angry, he looks like startled or something like that. So you see, the movement has taken place. So this is how you get your information. The information is coming from the client, and the client is actually representing all the family members that show up. I would refer from the idea to represent, like try to facilitate and represent a family member. There's only one exemption where I think you could really do that, is when you are in a mother movement and you become the mother for the client, but that's not an internal constellation. That is actually physical, like rebirthing and things like that, where you become the mother for the client and you hug the client like a mother does, and you go into this state of representing the mother. That's fine. I can't see any other example where you really want to represent a family member for your client. while you work with him. So in this session, in the internal constellation, the client is representing every family member. You are free to add people. And you have to do that because you need to find the one that is missing. So you would then say, now imagine, or now look around, you will see your great-great-grandfather, right? So you will guide him to see it, because it is like you would choose you would choose in a workshop setting to put a representative for the great-great-grandfather there because you think that's what needs, right? Or a third person that nobody knows who that is, right? So you would put them there. Then I'll write down your questions so we can answer them all when I'm finished, yeah? So you would put them all there, like in a workshop setting, and then you would suggest to your client, look at him, look at her. Do you see him or her, right? And when they say no, they don't see it, then you know, you may ask to go closer or whatever you think. And when the client doesn't see this person at all, then that's already in itself, you know, gives away that there's a denial going on. But that's the same in a workshop setting, no? You can ask the client, look at them, and then they say, I can't look at them, or I can't see them. They say that. That's nothing special. That's the internal constellation is following the same rules as the workshop setting. You just ask your client all the time for feedback, meaning the client has to tell you what he or she sees and what he or she feels and what the representatives do and how they feel and how they react and how they move. That's the only difference. No. And if you find that daunting at the beginning, you can make some notes, because your client has your eyes closed anyhow. Yeah, just make some quick notes, not huge ones, because you need to observe the client, right? You cannot take the eyes from the client and write all the time like a psychoanalyst writes all the time while the client sleeps on the sofa, bubbling. Right? That's not what I mean. You are staying with your client, you're fully aware, you watch him, you observe him, but you take notes if you get lost in maybe it's a complex situation. And then you follow this dynamic until you find what mends, and that there is a relief in the client, which you can clearly see because you observe the client. And then that is the peak of the constellation, and that is where you break up. And then you ask your client to come out of alpha state, like you do in a guided meditation. Come back to the room and open eyes. Right? This is how it ends. So that would be the closing. Yeah, and now we are talking about flowing gas before we go into our exercise. So if there's questions to the internal constellation, go now.
So my question was, I see that it can be very challenging. So what happened in the case of no communication? The client is in the position of being the auntie or the perpetrator or whatever, and then is in this not communicating or anger or no movement. What do? Do you take it, okay, come back to be you, or you know, what will be the dynamic when something stops?
Okay, so normally in the internal constellation, when you ask the client to represent other family members, they are not so connected as you describe it now. I haven't seen that. They are more observant of the others. Yeah. So I never had any problems with this. I don't think you will have that. You know, they are more observant. They tell you what the representatives do, the family members, I say, how they look, you know, how they feel, because what your client can observe that, because you can't observe it, but your client can, and he can give you this information. But he's normally not, how can I put it? He's normally not like a representative in a family constellation workshop where they are completely Yeah, well, you never, it's theory, Werner, because you never see that. You're always yourself anyhow.
Yeah, I just thought we just need to have clear boundaries with the client. Be more connected to the field that using your mind, because sometimes people will kind of change. I don't know.
No, you see, it's not so complicated. We will train that. We have a training session, so you'll see. Beautiful. Anything else to this? Okay, let's go ahead. So there's another very, very good tool that I have not talked about yet, which I call floor anchors. Anybody heard this term before? No? There might other terms. You might know what I mean when I explain it to you. When you have to make a decision, the client comes to you to make a decision, and there's a distinct options. There are distinct options, like say 3 options. Yeah, I make an example, and it's a very banal example, but I had that actually recently with a client. The client wanted to buy a new car. And there were 3 cars that he wanted, that were for him of an option for him. And so we constellated that, not like I don't do a family constellation within this case, I do floor anchors. So what does that mean? We are taking representatives for the cars. Yeah. But instead of using figurines or anything else, we use paper. That works a treat. So you use A4 sheets, blank A4 sheets, and you write on the sheet option A, B, or C. And then you put them upside down on the floor, and you ask your client to step on it one at a time. And of course, you don't know which one is which. You don't know that. He doesn't know that. You don't know that. That doesn't matter. So, and then what you do is you ask, and the client has to shoes off, and they step on and you ask them to stand still on this paper, and then you observe the movement of the client, because the client goes into this energy and he's kind of representing it, and you will see movement. So the client is very, very alert anyhow, and very connected, and says, no, that's not gonna, that doesn't work for me at all here. Yeah, that's great, so go ahead. Or the client doesn't know anything and doesn't feel anything, but starts to sway or something like that, small movement. So you observe the client, then you're asked to go on the next sheet of paper, and you can write that down in your notebook, and then you go on your client sheet. Then you go on the next, ask them to go on the next paper and see the movement there, and so on. So what you want to achieve is, or what you want to see is, a movement towards. So everything that goes, it's like in kinesiology. I hate this word. Muscle testing. Let's say muscle testing. You can take an object and you are drawn to it, which is positive, or you are going away from it, which is negative. That's the same with floor anchors. So if the client has no idea, to express the feelings they have on a floor anchor, then you still see the movement. Is it forward or backwards? So you stay at the side of the client, and you don't stand in front of the client. You always stay at the side of the client and watch the movement. Is it backwards or forward? So that's the minimal movement you need for the decision making. And then you do all the floor anchors, and then you take them away, which were responding negative. So either the client says, no, I don't like that, I feel cold, or that feels heavy, and that doesn't feel right, and whatever they say. Or if they don't say anything, they move backwards, just slightly. That's very slightly tilt, or they start to sway, and they don't feel grounded, and they don't look grounded. You take these floor anchors away, and you just stay with the 1 or the 2 which had a positive impact on the energy of the client. And then you might have another round to decide between these 2. And then if there's finally the favorite, with the one the client responded the most positive to, then you turn it around, and then you know what's there. It's a BMW or Toyota or Kia. And then I mean, you know, and then that is the result. If the client does buy this car or not, that's not our concern. But that's where he came for. So there are a couple of interesting twists when you work with floor anchors, and I have done it quite a lot. I do it since 15 years, and I want to share with you some tips and tricks about that. So first of all is the use of floor anchors. I think there are basically two ways to use it. Decision making, great, especially decision making with objects, right? I'm not talking about so much about relationships with like, oh, I'm in love with 3 men. I mean, you can do that. I never had that. Why? But you can also make a constellation with figurines, maybe, or that's probably better if it's about people. But definitely, if it's about the job, or if it's about buying something, or house, or anything else, that's great. It's also great to start. So that's one thing. And it's also great to find an issue to work with at the start of a family constellation. When the client comes to you and says, I actually have 3 issues, and they all sound equally important. Let's put it that way. So you really don't know, and the client doesn't know what to constellate, then it's great to start with floor anchors. So you put 3 A4 sheets blank with ABC, that would be the issues, and then you do the same procedure, yeah, with covered, and you don't know which one is which, and he doesn't know which one is which, and then you see and observe where is the positive response to, and that's the one you take. You always take the positive response because it is a connection with the energy field of this topic, and you don't want to go for the negative one. You don't want to go for the one that is making the client uncomfortable. So these are the two ways I like to use floor anchors. There are probably more. You might find them out and share it with us. And the other issues I normally go straight into a family constellation with. So a couple of tips and tricks when working with floor anchors. First of all, use short words. So ask your client, especially if the client is quite talkative, to describe what he or she feels on the sheet in short words. So not long stories. Like, is it good or bad? Is it positive? Is it warm or cold? Do you feel warm or cold? Do you feel uplifted or heavy? Or, short words, and give them just simple options to answer. Because these floor anchors, you don't want to spend too much time, because then you come into the mind. You really always want to go with the energy, and that's the first impulse or the first idea that pops up in the mind of the client, or the first impression that you get from observing the client, right? So you don't want to spend too much time on that, because then you start to go in the mind and analyze it and doubt it and go back and forth, and then you lose kind of the connection with the energy of that. Add an empty sheet. So I discovered that is very beneficial. So if the client comes, let's go back to this example with the 3 cars. I would not use 3 A4 sheets. I would use 4, and I would just add an empty sheet and lay it out. And nobody knows what the empty sheet is. And what happens when the empty sheet is drawn? What do you think? What is this standing for?
Another solution.
Yeah, exactly. A complete different solution. In this example, for example, he might not need a new car. He can't repair his old car, and he hasn't put this option in there. Or he might doesn't need a car at all. He should go on public transportation, or on a bike, or on a motorbike. That's it. So the blank sheet is a completely new option. So you would start new. You would start completely new. You would explore with your client what else would be possible in this situation. Also use not more than maximum 4 anchors at a time. 3 or 4 anchors plus the blank is max, I would say, to focus on the issue. Otherwise, the issue is confusion, I would say. If there's too many choices to choose from, that's kind of confusing. And if the client comes like in this car example with, I have 7 cars I want to, 7 cars I want to look at, then you would probably say, okay, pick from this 7 cars now 3 that are your favorite. And then the floor anchor is with the 3 favorite cars, not with the 7. It is also difficult for you to see differences in the behavior when you have 7 choices and you have to decipher what reaction of the client of this 7 is now the best. That's not easy. So for you to work with and for the client to be beneficial for, 3 or 4 anchors at a time is enough. And then always go with the first reaction. Yeah, otherwise the mind kicks in. So if you see, this is why you have to watch the client from the side. So you see the movements back and forth or swaying, but you also obviously see the face also from the side. So if you see in the client tension when he starts on a sheet, this is a negative reaction. If you see relaxation or even kind of a smile or happiness, that is the positive reaction. If you see a movement forward, that is positive. If you see a movement backwards, that's negative. It is very likely that the client settles in after a few seconds and reacts to all floor anchors the same, like cannot tell you any difference. But the first movement when he goes on a floor anchor will be different, and that's what you have to catch, right? So be ready and don't allow your client to jump on a floor anchor before you are ready in position to observe, because that can go quick. And then when he or she kind of comes into the state, oh, I don't feel anything here, then they just move along, and then you observe exactly the same, the first reaction. And it can be subtle. It doesn't need a big reaction. It can be subtle. But there will always be a reaction, yeah, even if it's subtle. Okay, so questions to work with floor anchors.
Are we doing a workshop for that?
A whole workshop.
Yeah, everything
Well, I
should
normally,
practice, eh?
I know, so I never use floor anchors in workshops. I'm absolutely happy and fine to work with the family constellation tools, in workshops. I don't need floor anchors. It's for one-on-one sessions, very helpful, right? I mean, you could, if the client doesn't know what to. Let's say you have a workshop, the client sits on the hot seat and it says, I have 3 options, yeah, and I don't know what to do. First of all, you need sheets there. I don't carry blank sheets with me to a workshop. And secondly, you can just ask 3 representatives to come up, and then you see. So you really don't need floor anchors. You need floor anchors when you're alone with your client. Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's do our exercise. Yay. So how does that look? So we do an exercise and I would make a demonstration. In this case, an internal constellation. So I do an internal constellation with one of you. And then after we did that, and it's going to be a short one, we don't spend 30 minutes on it. But after that, you work in 2 groups again. And you do for each other an internal constellation. Yeah. And because it will take a little bit of more time, you have Or you can also work with floor anchors. So you can decide what you prefer. So if you work with your client in this exercise and there is a decision to be made, you can decide to work with floor anchors, and you would ask your client to write this down, the sheets, and lay it out exactly as we said, without looking at it, and then you observe the client, through the camera. So you can do that as well if you want to, either or. And then you have 15 minutes each, right? So you swap, obviously, after the first one. Okay? All good? Then I will stop sharing. And let's do an internal constellation. So take a couple of deep breaths. Breathe into your belly. Relax your shoulders. And your jaw. And wait if something comes up that needs to be looked at now. You don't need to force it. It will come up. And then you open your eyes again. And put your hands up if if something came up. Yeah, Gabriele?
My apartment came up.
Ah, that's very good. So what is about your apartment?
The owner wants to sell it, and I like I like this place. So
How
it
long
came
have you
up.
lived there?
12 years now.
12 years. Mhm. Very good. Is there already any other choice?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So we look at that issue with the internal constellation. Hmm? Okay. So everybody else observe, and while I work with Gabriel, and then you know roughly how it goes, and you can do that in your exercise. Okay, Gabriel. So it's not a workshop setting, so we're not working with representatives. This is an internal constellation. So imagine Gabriele and me, we would be alone in a one-on-one situation. Okay, Gabriele. So now relax, and you know how to do that. Loosen your shoulders and your jaw again. Deepen your breath. You breathe deeply into your belly. Long and controlled breath. The heartbeat goes slower. You feel very relaxed and grounded as well through the soles of feet and the buttocks. You feel how the breath is moving up and down your spine. And every breath takes you deeper into your inner space of peace and tranquility. This place where you feel safe, where everything is okay as it is, where nothing needs to be done, nothing needs to be changed, where you are in the now, where there's no problem. And in this space, which is your happy space. You think about your apartment that you have to leave eventually. And with your eyes closed, you start to look around you in your happy space. And you will see a person. There. Look at this person and tell me who it is. Do you know this person?
Yes,
Who is it?
my father.
Your father. Is your father looking at you?
Yes,
How do you feel looking at your father?
I feel good. But there is quite a huge distance.
Mhm. Look at your father. Can you see how he feels?
He's sad about this distance.
Mm. And you?
I feel good where I am. I like seeing him, but I like also the distance.
Mhm. Say to your dad, please.
Please,
Please, dad, or Fati, or what you say.
please, Papa.
How is that for you?
This is okay. Now I can make a step forward.
Mhm. Okay, take the step. And say again, bitte, Papa.
Bitte, Papa.
Ich bin so klein,
Ich bin so klein.
du bist so groß.
Du bist so groß.
She says, I'm small and you are tall. How is that for you?
It's good. True words.
Mhm. Would you like to step forward?
Yes.
Go towards him as close as you want. And tell me when you are there.
I'm here.
Where is
I'm
your
there.
dad?
I can stretch my hand out. Yeah.
Okay, go on
And
your knees. Go on your knees and touch his feet with your hand. Or sit on your heels and touch his feet and look up. Find his eyes and say again, Bitte Papa,
bitte, Papa,
nur hier fühle ich mich sicher.
nur hier fühle ich mich sicher
Und geborgen und beschützt. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. How's your dad looking?
He's happy and very peaceful.
Now take your pillow and hug it as if it would be the legs of your dad. And open your heart. Let the love flow. From your dad straight into your heart. And deep breathing. That's it. And then you kind of crawl up on your dad until you stand up and can hug him fully. And then step back just a little bit, look in his eyes, and say thank you, danke.
Thank you. Danke.
Is that good for you to
Mm-hmm.
say thank you? Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And then turn around and lean against your dad. Your dad is holding you at the shoulders. And ask your dad for support to find a new apartment that you will love to live in just in time. Okay, very good. How do you feel?
I'm now a little bit sad, but I think it's because I imagined before that I can change because I love this place very much. But it was like I can't change. It's not that I have to stay here forever.
And now you know you can change.
Yeah.
Very. So it's like losing a beloved one. It's like now you're coming from the state of denial into the state of grief, which is the first step to healing. That's a good place to be. Trauern, grief. Okay, very good. Okay. So that was that. Any questions before you go in your exercise? And whatever you do, when you do an internal constellation, stick to the movements and the words you know, right? Keep it simple. Kiss, I think it's I think you call it kiss. Keep it, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, double it, right? Okay. So I assign you to breakout rooms. You have 15 minutes each. You decide for yourself if you would like to. No, the client is talking about the issue, and the facilitator is deciding whether to do a floor anchor or an internal constellation. Yeah. Okay.
So we can also do a floor anchor.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
How
that
could
the facilitator is deciding that, not the client. Okay. What was the question, Werner?
maybe it doesn't apply. I was going to ask in the case of what you did in the constellation for Gabriel, if there was a chance to do with the papers.
Yeah. Yeah, we
But
could have done, but no, we couldn't do the papers because you had no options. What
No, I had
would you
no
write on the
option.
papers?
If I
No, that's
would
not,
have options, then I couldn't do the floor anchor.
so, but not without options, right? Okay. All right. So your rooms are open. I send you a message after 15 minutes to swap, or I send you a message after 10 minutes that 5 minutes are left and then to swap. Okay.
Now-
Okay, let me just get that all off here. Okay, hi, you are back. Okay, so how was it?
It was good.
Who wants to start sharing? Yeah, Wilna, you want to start?
Always.
Sure.
So I guess I talk about myself or about what happened with Gabriel.
Whatever you prefer.
Okay, as a facilitator, my client made it easy. The client said, let's talk and listen to me. So we spoke about her previous constellation and how she was feeling before the constellation, the idea of the sailing, and we were talking about why, you know, those possibilities of what could be happening. And then we went into personal questions and answers, but as well as my constellation. Gabrielle gave me a feedback about how she
So what
conducted.
did you constellate for Gabriel then?
We didn't do
Nothing.
it. No, we didn't do. I didn't do as a
Because
facilitator.
we were over time with her.
Ah, okay.
So we and there was no other, like,
Okay. So then you, Gabriel, you facilitated for Wilna then, or
yes.
okay. So how was that?
But isn't it better she speaks about it, how she felt? No?
Whatever you prefer.
I think it's better when she explains how she felt, no?
Well, it's about facilitating, not about the client, because we're in a training.
Okay. I guided her through. She wanted to speak about. She wanted to constellate a bacteria. She has herpes, and then I guided her through the small meditation, and then she said to herself, please, because it was time to, but she has to say what she felt, because there was no other person and there was nobody in the other room. She didn't see an object and she didn't see a person. So I guided her through to her herself, like say to please to herself that she appreciate more herself and be
More
and
loving
then-
and caring for herself.
yes, loving and caring for herself. And then thank you that she's loving and caring herself more than in future time. There was no person.
Yeah.
So Wilna, there
object
was
and
a
no
person.
person. There
Pardon?
no object and no person.
Yeah, so she asked me to look around, and where was I? So I saw my house and I saw the green walls, and just she said, "But look around," and then I saw myself seated on a chair in an episode that I wasn't well, with something on my eye, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was sad, I was miserable, and then she said to talk to myself and say, please. And I thought, why please? Is that right that I feel that I shouldn't say please? And then she said, just say please. And then several times, and breathe and say please, please, please. So that's what
So
I
was
did.
it?
Became
So Wilna,
agitated.
stop, not that too fast. So when Gabriel asked you to say please, was it for you? Was it true or not true?
At the beginning, it wasn't true. But then
Mhm.
I told her, I don't know if I should say please. And then she said, just keep breathing, have deep breathing and say please. Take your time and say please. And then I became agitated, like I wasn't not liking a sort of thing, you know, and a little bit kind of arrogant. But then it felt okay as I said more. And then she said to say thank you. And then it came back like, again, why? Like the questioning mind, maybe. Why do I say thank you? Yeah, but I could see that her face, the me in my constellation was much better, more relaxed, more sort of connected as she was
yeah.
guiding it. Yeah. So even with the thank you, I felt agitated as well. Then later on, she said, just keep saying that. And I stay with that. Do you have something to hug? And then I had here, yes. And that felt good until she gave me some time. She gave me some space to be with myself. Then within, I said, stay with me and tell me, communicate with me anything that you like, you know. And when we finished, she explained why she said the thank you and the please, and it was it made sense what she said.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Wonderful. Dasha and Francesca, who wants to start?
So I did my one first, or I was the one that was being constellated. I just worked on a particular person that's been quite domineering within our work structure, and so we just wanted to work through that. Yeah, it was pretty easy, pretty straightforward. I had my dad come in, and then I made a connection with him. Francesco just gave me the time to connect with him, asked me if I wanted to go closer, which I did. And then we just embraced each other. And then there was another person or something in the background, and we could feel something, or I could feel something. And she said, do you know who it is? Is it male or female? I was like, I don't know. She's like, do you want to ask it to leave? And I'm like, yeah, I think that's right, because I want this quality time with my dad. So I just asked this person to leave. I said, you no longer belong here. And that was it. We just had this quality time with my dad. And then we came back and reassessed the situation, and I could see this person that I was constellating for, he's basically insecure. Yeah. So it's not my stuff or anyone else's, it's just his stuff. Yeah, that was brilliant. Thank you.
So from the perspective of the client, Darshan, did you had any trouble to visualize the constellation?
No, it was pretty straightforward. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how your client will feel as well.
Mm.
So you can be confident that, you know, you can guide them into this state.
Yeah.
All right. And then when you were constellating for Francesca, how was that?
Yep. Do you want to go ahead, Francesca?
Yes, you no. When I was like facilitating, it was pretty easy actually. Just asking what came to my mind basically, and I asked. Yeah, because I saw no issue, there was no problem between him and the dad. I asked if there was somebody else, and there was this other person around, but the thing is that they didn't want to talk to him, so I didn't really go into that. I just asked. I just let them do what they wanted to do.
It's probably good for the sake of the exercise. If it would have been a client, you definitely need to go there.
Yeah, but like, should I force him to talk to him?
No, it's not forcing. The denial of not looking at somebody is a clear sign of an entanglement as well, right?
Yeah, but how do I approach that when he didn't want to look at it?
Now, how would you do that in a workshop?
I actually thought that you did pretty good, Francesca, because you just asked me, do you want to talk to this person? Do you want them to be here? That was what I felt, but
they did speak, but he just told him to leave.
You'd never do that in a family constellation, right?
No, that never happened to me. No.
So what happened here is that whatever, as I said, I'm not criticizing anything. This is a course to learn. In a family constellation, you are looking for that what is missing, and that is always have been excluded in the family system. And that needs to be acknowledged in order to heal and let the love flow. It is very common that this person who has been formally excluded, this family member, whoever that is not welcomed because the family conscience doesn't want this person to be seen. Otherwise, it would have been seen long ago, right? So at first, if a third person comes, there are always two options. Either the representative who are there feel a relief and are happy to see this person because a long missed family member is now seen, or the opposite, nobody wants to look at them. They want to stay in their little bubble and they want to keep it out. Yeah. Obviously, here was the second option, which is fine. So if you would have been in a proper, like in a whole family constellation, you would need to take your time to find a way to find out the dynamic between the client and the third person.
Yeah.
And find that what meant, right? That would be the work.
Yeah.
However, in the sake of this exercise, obviously that was not the goal to do that, so that's fine, you know. So that's all.
Yeah, that was the feeling. Like Darshan didn't want to go there. His father neither.
So leave it.
So-
Yeah, that's fine. So how was that facility? You said, Francesca, it was easy. So that's great. So, you know, that's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that.
When he facilitated for me, so something beautiful came up. I think it's like I can see like the development of things from yesterday's constellation and from, so I think I'm entering the space of my father's family after working with my mother for a long time. And so I saw the person that came up was my father's mother, my grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
And she died a very long time ago. And she was a great woman. And I don't know, I feel like being a woman at that time in Sardinia, my family's place, meant you weren't allowed even to be intelligent. So weren't allowed to study and so on. And you were supposed to just be a mother and cook and all that. And so the feeling was like, she's happy for me to do the work. And what I had asked for was about my job here and what I'm doing. And what came out for me is like, that doesn't really matter. I have my job to do, my works to do with clearing up a lot of mess in that family. Like it's a lot more than it is in my mother's side. So so
Very good.
it felt like I asked her for her blessing. And
Good.
it's like she's with me, she's happy for me to do the job and so on. And she's the mother of that child that came up yesterday. There's these missing children. I feel it's a lot of them. And we really didn't go there. I mean, Darshan didn't really ask questions in any direction. So, yeah, that was fine.
Okay, great. Good for sharing. Gabriel, you wanted to say something?
I think it's the pressure of time. A little bit, no? That when you think that you have to go in to do something different, it's also a pressure of time that you know they have only this 15 minutes, no?
Not for us. We had a lot of time. We finished the day. It was like.
The thing is
Okay,
that
you
we
finished. That's
finished.
fine.
We finished and then we talk, and then finishing the talk, it came up the message that says that we got 10 minutes. And then Gabriel said, we better talk because then we're going to be cut off in the middle of the constellation. And
yeah. Okay, good for sharing. We have the break now. It's 10 to 8. I see you in 10 minutes and then we continue. Okay? Awesome. See you in 10. Okay.
This is new.
Why does it have to say it now?
This
I
is
thought you were
new.
mine.
This is new.
I know.
This is new.
That's the update of my
Apple.
software. I don't know. Okay, so let's look at essential oils and how they can enhance the experience for you and your client in one-on-one sessions. So the way I use essential oils in this, let's call it spiritual healing kind of situation, is that I only look at the emotional properties of oils. No, I'm not concerned with the like enhancement of oils of the physical body, which is the normal case. If you think of aromatherapy, this is basically about what oil can help with what ailments, right? That's kind of what you learn in aromatherapy. However, I don't use oils like this. I use them to find out the emotional state of my client or the emotional blockages that leads me right into the topic, especially if the client does not know where to start, or is a new, or is shy, or is reserved, or has hidden agendas, or anything like this. So in this case, for me, the oils work very well. And there it helps to have a book that has all the emotional properties of the oils listed, which is emotions and essential oils, which are just screenshot there. If you would be interested, that's a little paperback thingy for 20 bucks, I think. You can purchase that. And there you can read up what oil is related to what emotional state. And this is a really good written, and it's really accurate. I work with it for years now, and it's really very accurate. So I really like to use it. And you can also, but how do you use it? So how do I use it? I call that essential oil reading, because what I do is I use either intuition or technology to let the client choose oils, 3 oils basically. And then from the oils he or she has chosen, I know by reading up or looking up in the emotional handbook, emotional oil handbook, what topic is coming up, because these oils, the plants that are at the base of the oils, are vibrating in the same frequency as the emotion of the client. So this is how it works. And you can do that intuitively when you don't need technologies. Just let them choose from, if you have like all the oils or a variety of oils, let them choose 1 or 2 or 3, not more than 3, I would say, otherwise too confusing. Or you can use a device which I use as well, iTovi, or a similar one, which is a bioimpedance measurement, like you have for sports Nike thingies and for sports purposes as well, who is measuring the resistance of your skin in several layers. And interestingly, this iTovi finds out the oils that are resonating with the body of your client the most. And then this is the same thing. You can either work intuitively without technology or use a device like iTovi. I have to say iTovi is very pricey. I think it's about $1,000 and or a subscription of some sort, and it really just pays off if you use it frequently for clients who pay for the service, right? But you don't need that at all. You can do it intuitively. That means you just let the client choose 1 oil out of the set of oils you provide, or 2 or 3, and then you look up the emotions that are behind it, and then you know by the first oil the client picks what state they are at, what is in the forefront of their head or in their emotional body, what's coming up, and then the second would be something that's enabled for the client later on in the future when he or she does the next step or goes through some improvements. And then the third one is that what helps to do that. That's how I read it. But there are lots of ways to do it. You can find your own way, play around with it, use it on yourself, friends and family if you want to. But I'm not saying that essential oils need to be incorporated. It is not what Bert Hellinger did. But since Bert Hellinger didn't do any one-on-ones anyhow, we don't really know about that. So this is what I like to do and what I found really, really helpful. What's the next? So just very briefly, what are essential oils? It's a scent of a plant. Each plant has a specific oil that is within either the leaves, the stems, or the petals. And through pressing, normally it's like olive oil or anything else, so cold pressing, you can normally derive the oils from the plant. The plant needs oils for a lot of things. Actually, for the plant, the own essential oils are everything from communication to weapon against intruders. They have nothing else. They can't go to the doctor. They can't ask for help for others. They have only themselves and the oils that they produce. And they can do astounding things with it. They can repel predators. They can attract friends, benefactories for their own life. They can heal themselves with their oils, and so they can also heal others. So that is beautiful. And every plant has a really distinct property. Every plant has a different oil, and that has a distinct property, and that is the property we use when we apply it for emotional healing. I use essential oils at the beginning of a session. I do a reading with clients, and then I know where to start normally. And often when then the client starts to talk, the topic they came with or they are concerned with is exactly what has been written already in the oil that they have chosen. So the similarity is often mind-blowing that you see there. You can use it during the session via, you can diffuse essential oils in your room to enhance either the atmosphere to make the client more comfortable, or sometimes you can also use oils to make the client more alert, or even uncomfortable if you want to, whatever you want to achieve with your client. And you can use it afterwards. I do that as well. I make a personal blend for the clients from the oils they have been chosen at the beginning, or I do a new reading with them at the end. And this is a take away and a take home gift that they can use. And this does guide and accompany the client throughout the next days on the journey, and makes them feel how can I say, more comfortable, more safe with everything that is, the changes that are coming to his or her life through the session with family constellation. So I talked about that. Well, we don't do that because we can't do that on the computer. No, unfortunately. I mean, there's probably a way without smelling the oils, but that's not, what's the point. So that was I wanted to share with you about how I use essential oils. If you have a question to that, that's fine. Let's ask or discuss it now, because then we are looking at other methods in the one-on-one session. Excuse me. So anything you want to know, or you want to share, or your own experience, or who does use essential oils, by the way? Yes, Darshan? Good. What is your experience and how do you use them?
I use them in a couple of different ways. One is kind of, I make my own little blends, and that works really good for ground. I make grounding potions as well. So I give them to my clients to help them ground. So I use things like vetiver and rose oil and all the different things. So I know that's, and then I use a diffuser as well. So I just put in a diffuser and just light it and let it burn away. So it just gets the energy nice. It's really powerful because it works with the limbic system, as you know. So it's pretty clear.
That's great. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Björn and Francesca, anything to do with essential oils yet or not?
I just use them casually as I do. I have some. I always have lavender oil with me, and I'm experimenting with some here, like kawa kawa and yeah, a little bit of the other one. I don't remember the name now. Some other kiwi plants. I just try them
Cool.
every now and then. I've never
Right.
used them regularly.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, so let's go to breathing exercises. That is something which is very helpful in one-on-one sessions. If you have, like in your plumber's box as one of the tools, some breathing exercises. It is very good to connect the client with themselves or with you because you can synchronize your breath as we talked about, like Francesca mentioned that last time. So to control the breath and to have breathing exercises as a modality, that's really helpful in one-on-ones. Why is that? Now, first of all, you want the client to relax, and the best way to relax is with a deep belly breath. That's now the only way I can think of actually how to guide the client to really relax is to slow down the breath, to deepen the breath, because then the heartbeat is also slowing down, and then relaxation is inevitably the result of this. So breathing exercises are great, and therefore we want to have a couple of breathing exercises always with us to apply them when needed. For example, there is a deep belly breath, which I practically use all the time. In yoga, it's called Ujjayi breath. It's not quite Ujjayi, it's a little bit more complex, but it's kind of the basic breath of yoga is deep belly breath. And for most people, they are unfamiliar with this breath because they breathe habitually the wrong way. So they inhale and the belly goes in, and they exhale and the belly goes out. I have no idea how we came to do that, because obviously you want the belly out to inhale, to allow the diaphragm to sink and allow the lungs to expand, right? And then draw in the belly so the diaphragm is lifting and squeezes out the lungs for the exhale. But in normal day-to-day life, we are having the habit of shallow breathing, which is the opposite. And we do that unconsciously. And that also means that we are not coming into a relaxation state through our breath, because it is not helping in this way. And actually, we are not making the most out of the oxygen in the air, neither. To nourish our bodies. So if you are unfamiliar with the deep belly breath or the yogic breath, I invite you to go and Google that and do for yourself exercises until you are completely familiar with that. You will benefit from it much, and then you can also apply it when you work with clients. But first of all, for you, it needs to become second nature, right? And when it's for you second nature, you can easily take your client with and breathe together. There is also what I call the open mouth breathing. That is more the exhale goes through the open mouth. That is more like a kind of relief of energy, especially when there's a lot of strain in the client and it kind of starts to bubbling up. Then probably the open mouth breathing is more appropriate than the deep belly breath. Yeah. So that's another kind of breathing technique that you can apply. Then the next breathing technique is actually not a breathing technique, because you would observe the natural rhythm of the breath. So instead of controlling the breath with breathing techniques, you would allow your breath to come naturally, but be fully aware of the breath. So it's not unconsciously, habitually, it's the natural breath being fully aware of, observed. It's kind of a meditative state, because when you start to observe the breath, you let go of your thoughts, and that's what you actually, how you start often a meditation, to come into a meditation. So let's do some breathing exercises. So the deep belly breath, we do that all the time. I don't need to exercise. We start every internal constellation with it, or every, I don't know, practically every session. But what I would probably want to exercise with you is observing the naturalism of the breath. And the open mouth breathing, why not? So the open mouth breathing, so sit upright, let go of your notebook, and relax your shoulders. And you are welcome to close your eyes and just listen to my voice. And you know the deep belly breath would be inhaling and the belly pops out. And then you exhale, draw the belly in. Now I want you to do the same. Inhale, the belly pops out. And on your exhale, you open your mouth and accompany your exhale with a sigh, like, and then you continue inhaling through the mouth as well, but in the belly. And then on the exhale, you let sigh, whatever sound comes out of your mouth, you allow it to come out. And you continue with this breath. And you force the exhale. And you can swap to inhaling through the nostrils if you feel your mouth is drying out, but exhaling still through the open mouth. And this is often very helpful when there's a lot of tensions, a lot of holding back. Clients who come to you have worked on themselves for years, often are first, before they can work, in the need of an open mouth breathing. Let's do the 3 more times. And last time. And then open eyes. Just check quickly in with yourself how you feel, how your body feels, your mind, emotional body. Has anything changed in this few minutes before you started with this exercise and just now? Can you feel a change?
I actually feel a little lightheaded. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a change, definitely. Did you feel a change too, Jana?
Yeah, like that, as well as my breathing has changed.
Yeah, good. And Francesca? Yes. So there's a change. We don't need to qualify it here. It's just interesting to know that just a couple of seconds of breathing differently changes, the body, the energy field, maybe even emotions or the state of the mind. So the other breath is the natural, observing the naturalism of the breath, which we do now. So again, close your eyes and sit upright with the relaxed shoulders. And now I want you to let go of the control of the breath. And just allow your body to breathe naturally, meaning it diaphragm is ebbing and flowing like waves that coming to the shore. You don't need to do anything, but you are very aware of the breath coming and going through your nostril. You are like a guard, guarding the nostrils as if they would be gates to a medieval fortress, and taking note of everyone who's coming in and going out. That's where all your attention is, at the tip of the nose, where the breath comes and goes. Do a couple of more breaths. And then gently open eye. Now just check in. Has something changed in this few minutes? And how would you describe?
Sleepy.
Virna's very relaxed, sleepy. And Darshan?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Just really, really chilled.
Yeah. Very good. So powerful tools breathing, yeah, it's very powerful. There's a whole science behind that, in ancient science, in Ayurveda and whatnot. So if you want to use this in your work, there are great courses about it, obviously, to hear practically everything with the breath, all kind of bodily ailments and emotional states. So we leave it there. Just a little bit of a tidbit. You can add that to your one-on-one sessions. It's very beneficial. And especially if you kind of, you want to start, or you want to come out, or you have time left, or you want to connect with your client, or at any other situation where you probably don't know what else to do, you can always, suggest to make a breathing exercise, and something will change, and it will be beneficial for the client and for yourself too. Now, the next tool is a guided meditation. You obviously know how I do that, because I often use it in workshops. Of course, like when you sign up for the newsletter on the website, you get the gift, the guided meditation. A guided meditation is a way, or how do I use it in family constellation, is in two ways. I use it to connect with the family system, either in a one-on-one situation with the client or with the whole group. Does work the same. And that is actually something that Bert Hellinger also does, right? Often in the workshops, that he does quite a lot of guided meditations. Especially because his groups are large and he's not getting to work with everybody, even not in 4 days. So the guided meditations are also a way to give everyone who is present something to take home, right? Something to work with. A guided meditation is always also something like an internal family constellation, if you think about it. Depends on which way you are heading. but it goes that direction. So if you guide a meditation, let's say to connect with the family system, and then you ask, let's say you have 7 participants in the workshop and you ask them to share what they have seen, they all have different answers. Right. Although you guide the meditation, the visual effects for everyone is different. So they all connect to their family system and see something different, which is in itself already a family constellation. And you don't need to facilitate that in a way towards a specific dynamic, because it kind of opens up towards a dynamic, which is lovely. A good start to a workshop, but also to a one-on-one. You can also apply or do a guided meditation with your client to get support from a family member or from the family system. So the guided meditation would lead the client to an ancestor, basically. And the ancestor would give support or blessings to the client. So that's also a lovely start for a one-on-one session. The client has the support of an ancestor and feels supported and guided throughout the session, and feels also not alone, and maybe this already is beneficial for the client and for the session. Guided meditation are beautiful also to connect with the inner child. I'm sure I have done that with you in the workshops as well. That is always when you see yourself as a child. So when you guide your client, and we may do that in the example, in the sample, when you guide the client to see, to look at themselves as a small child, this is always the inner child they are looking at, and this is synonymous with the soul, right? And you want this inner child or the soul. Often there's a disconnection between the person and the soul, like that's very common, that there is not a deep connection, and there's this causing all sorts of suffering. So to find the connection to the inner child, which is the soul, is very beneficial and healing in itself for the client. So that's a lovely guided meditation that we might do as an exercise today. You can guide a meditation in the case of letting go of foreign energies or giving back. That means that's one or the other. So you have, if you have a one-on-one setting with your client, and this is a client who is always accumulating things, or it has problem with letting go of things or persons, or the problem is the letting go, then a guided meditation to guide the client to let go of whatever needs to let go. It can be symbolic, like it could be like a rucksack or a vase or that is full, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be a gift, just to give it to somebody who is the true owner of it, right? That is the letting go of foreign energies or giving back meditation. We can use guided meditation to release a family member from the duty or from a entanglement or from a connection that is no longer beneficial for the client. It is also sometimes called to cut the cords, or there are other traditions that use different words for this, like to terminate a soul agreement or something like that, right? So whenever there is the need to cut a cord, an example would be here, for example, a partnership, a romantic partnership that has been ended, but on a soul level, there is still a connection, and the client is suffering under this. Then that would be a lovely meditation to allow the client to cut the cord from this partner and be able to move on. Yeah, so we have time for at least one guided meditation, and I'm happy to do that. And I think why not? You could choose out of the 5 topics what would you like me to do. We are democratically, so you have to whoever gets the most votes. let's let's start at the first one. Who's voting for the connecting with the family system? Francesca. 1. Getting support from a family member. No. Connecting with the inner child. 1. Letting go of foreign energies, giving back. 1 still. Releasing a
What it
family
means?
member.
Sorry, that one, like let it go foreign
Letting go of
energies.
foreign energies
back.
and giving back.
How is this one?
Yeah,
Giving
you-
back
you
what?
vote
Returning
for it,
whatever is
then
not
you
mine.
know. What do you want me to say? I'm not saying anything. If you vote for it, you will know. If you don't vote for it, you will never know.
Okay, I maybe support that one with Francesca.
Okay, so that was 2 already. Say maybe
Okay,
3
so
for
I guess
releasing.
I'm outnumbered because I was going to go with exercise.
Right.
That's all right.
Okay,
We'll
let's
go with
go.
it.
Okay, letting go of foreign energies, giving back. Okay, so that would be a guided meditation. So please sit upright, comfortable with an unsupported spine. And for the sake of the discussion, for the sake of the time, I would say, we don't make it too long, so I don't take too much time. You know how to relax anyhow and come into your happy space. So we just speed that up. So take a couple of deep breaths and go to your happy space. And when you are in your happy space, you see there is a little elevation. And on top of the elevation, there is an armchair, beautiful armchair, carved in wood, painted colorful and with gold, soft polsters, very inviting, like a throne really. And to the right side of the chair, there is a staff with a beautiful, huge crystal on top. And to the left side of the chair, there is a heap with gifts. They have all sizes and shapes, different colors, different packaging, wrapping paper, bows, a beautiful, big or small, pile of gifts. And some steps or a winding path is leading you to the chair. And with a light heart, you climb up the stairs and follow the path to the chair. And then you sit down. It is your chair waiting for you. And you look to your right and you see the staff, lovely carved out of wood or made out of metal, with a lovely, huge white crystal on top. And on the left side, you take note of the heap of gifts that is there. And you sit in your chair and you say to yourself, now is the time to give back everything that doesn't belong to me. And this is time to receive that, what is mine all along. And while you set this intention, you see on the horizon are people appearing. And they come over the horizon towards the elevation. And you see them one after the other climbing up the stairs, following the path until they reach you sitting on the chair. And they line up in front of you, one after the other. And you look at everyone. Everybody is welcome. You might know the people, you might not know them. That does not matter. And when all of them have lined up, you look at the first one, grab to your left a gift, ask the person to come forward and stand in front of you, and ask him to take this gift. Because what is wrapped in there is what belongs to this person and that you have carried for this person all the time. And now it's time to give it back. So you say to this person, this belongs to you. I give it back to you. I do not want to carry it anymore. And in exchange, you receive the love this person has held back towards you. That looks like an arrow out of light that goes from the heart of the person straight into the crystal that is to your right side. And you see the stream of light going into the crystal from the heart of the person who's taking happily back the gift. And you see how your crystal is changing color with this light. And then you say to this person, thank you. And you see how this person walks away. The second person comes forth, and you grab to your left another gift. Give it to him or her with the words, I give back what belongs to you. I am not carrying it any longer. And this person takes your gift. And another stream of light flows from the heart of this person into your crystal, the love that has been held back. And the crystal receives this light and is changing color again. And then you say thank you to this person. And then the person leaves. And so the next person comes. And you repeat this ritual, giving the gift, receiving the light in your crystal, and thanking the person and show him out. With every and each person that has lined up to receive back what has been left with you. And you take your time so everyone gets the same attention. A gift leaves the love in form of light in your crystal. And so you go on and go on until the heap of gifts gets smaller and smaller. And only one gift is left. And one person. And when it's time for the last gift to be given, you ask the last person to step forward in front of you, give the gift, say, this is yours. I want to give it back to you. I'm not gonna carry it anymore. And you receive from the last person beautiful stream of light into your crystal. Crystal who is already now vibrating in all the colors of the rainbow. Looks gorgeous and beautiful, radiant, And when you have thanked the last person, there is no gift left, and the last person has left as well. You get up from your chair to the crystal, take the crystal from the star, and hold it against your heart. And the crystal with all the light in there is melting into your heart. And all the love that has been held back for so long is floating and flowing into your heart, radiating with the light of love from inside out. And is filling up every body cell in your body and all the spaces between the cells. And is so radiant and so much love that it radiates into your emotional body, your mental body, and out into the universe. And you put your hands on your heart and take a bow. And then you come up. You deepen your breath. Take a deep inhale and an open mouth exhale. Then you feel the heaviness of your body on your chair. To be aware of the room around you where you're sitting in, and open eyes in your own time. Okay, so that was a guided meditation. Guided meditation is not set in stone. You don't need to read it out. You can be spontaneous. It always has a message and a meaning, and it's always a mini constellation, of course. Right, anything to share?
Your voice is breaking now.
Is it again?
When suddenly you spoke and it went.
I don't know what that is. Now I have it updated. Darshan, what do you want to say?
No, that was just perfect. It was lovely. It's really, really nice. I wish I could translate that into my own way. It's really good.
And of course
Will we
you
get
can.
like a copy of that or not really?
Yes, it's all recorded.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
being recorded.
Good idea. Yeah, it was lovely.
It was a bit weird for me because I'm very tired and very like spaced out. So I followed to a certain extent, and I got some bits and pieces, but I got a. So at some stage you mentioned like about receiving the love that we have had, and I had like, I don't know, something as if something was passing through my head, like something sharp was passing through the crown, exactly.
Oh.
And then like a few seconds before you said to bow, I actually bowed.
Very good.
So I don't know which part of me was connected, but some part of me was connected.
Definitely. It's actually a good thing if you don't really remember it, if you don't really, that's a good thing. Yeah, very good. Okay. Okay. So when we talk about one-on-one session, obviously the methodology of family constellation is very suitable to be combined with your own methods or any of the healing methods that you learned in module 4, especially rebirthing, regressions, and all of these things are much better in a one-on-one situation than in a workshop setting. So practically everything, and also the interrupted movement to the mother is also good in a one-on-one. Obviously, we can do that in a workshop too. So practically everything, if you recap, if you revisit module 4, look at it under the aspect of module 5, what you have learned here, how to incorporate that in your one-on-one sessions if you want. No, so that's one thing. You can integrate all these how can I put that, details into the family constellation session with your client at the beginning or at the end, right? So the family constellation is always kind of the middle part, the main part, but that can be all integrated. You can also decide not to do a family constellation if, for example, a rebirthing is necessary. And actually, rebirthing is also a family constellation because Bert Hellinger has done a lot of rebirthing. And they were in the workshop setting and they were all hands-on. He was always representing the mother and he was holding the person who needed rebirth very, very tight to simulate the birth process. So this is actually original Bert Hellinger. So that could be the whole session, and that would be probably the whole session if the client needs a rebirth. Otherwise, if you combine it with a regression, for example, that could also be a long regression and you don't want to do a family constellation, that's fine. So, you know, that's the session. That is the session. Keep to your time frame. If your client is coming for and paying for 1 hour, keep to this hour. So when you think, okay, this regression is actually taking already over half an hour, then you might not just add quickly a family constellation, just allow the client to come back to have more room for then a proper a family constellation where you have the time to do it. So we have a little bit of time, not much, but 10 minutes time. We can either spend the time for more Q&A and discussion, or if you want to, you can go in a group. Gabriela is left. Not in a group, but you could lead us spontaneously with a meditation if you feel up to it. Just to practice it, right? No need to be shy. Use the time and the space. Anybody wants to do that? Actually, I just ask hands up if anybody wants to do that. Practice guiding a meditation. Up to you. It's your time.
I'm pretty tired, probably like Francesca, so I don't really want to do anything, but maybe some questions. That's just me personally.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good to know. So yeah, let's go to some, because I think we are through here. Let me just think. So we can. Okay, so I have another slide. Ah, no, sorry, we are not at the end here. So we continue. We need the next 2 minutes.
Oh, like we got a lot of material.
Yeah. We need the next, we have 3 more slides. So in closing, what I want to say about the one-on-one sessions that we spent the whole weekend on now, stick to the time frame, plan a time at the end of the session for the closing, which should be probably not less than 5 minutes to get the client, you know, out of wherever you worked in and back into the reality of where you are at with him in the room. Make sure the client is out of alpha state, of course. Avoid to talk about the session in retrospective. If the client wants to talk about the session, he should come back. Yeah. So it's not like now you have 1 hour session and then you talk half an hour with them about it. Yeah. First of all, the effects are diluted when you talk about it after the actual session. Yeah. Secondly, and the client has, there's nothing good coming out of that anyhow. Secondly, all these energies need time to settle. Yeah. So all the questions that are asked now are probably in the next day not been asked anymore, you know, because it has all integrated already. So it is if they want to talk about the session, you say, yeah, if you want a new appointment, you can come back. And then before we do anything else, we can talk about the session. And you will see, normally there's not much left to talk about, right? Go right into the new one. Make a plan with the client where to go from here. So other than in workshops where I like to leave it where it is and let the field sort out, you know, what's next. The clients in one-on-one sessions very often like to have a follow-up plan, you know, so they want to know what they do now when they go home. You know, what shall they do? So if I make essential oil mix for them, then I said apply the essential oils as often as you think of it. Do some breathing exercises or something like that, you know. So anything that that makes them feel they have something to do after the session is normally quite good. So if there's something, then that's good. Ask your client for a review. It's always great to have reviews, and we often forget that. But if it's fresh in the mind of the client, they will probably happily write that. After a week or 2, maybe not anymore, you know, because it's maybe all we say in Germany cold coffee. So it's not really present anymore. And maybe you want to schedule a next appointment. Other than in workshops, one-on-one sessions are really good and also designed for some repetitions, so you can work on several issues. So if the client feels like they want a next appointment, that's fine. Definitely schedule a next appointment, but obviously don't put any pressure off the client, of course. If the client feels like that was it, then that's fine. That's it. So troubleshooting, the client cannot go out of alpha state. What are you doing there? You make a short regression back to the session where you've been, no? And then you lead out of the session and the alpha state deliberately. So you guide him out there step by step. The other troubleshooting, the client is not happy. We have talked about that on several occasions. That's fine, that's happened. That's life. You have to own it, right? It's not, you don't have that in your hands. That's the client that's his or her problem. Check when the client is not happy if the client has left the morphic field at all. No, that might be a reason. You can talk to the client about expectations. That's the only thing I think that would help, because when the client is not happy, obviously he or she came with certain expectations about a certain outcome, which hasn't happened to him or his observation. And that is all about the expectation, not about what you have done, about the expectations the client had when he came. So you can talk about expectations. That's probably what I would do in a really hardcore case. You definitely can give or tell the client that family constellation are manifesting from immediately up to half a year. So if the client's not happy now, he's maybe happy in half a year. So talk about to him about the time frame and how change of energies are manifesting in the physical realm in this way. And if the client is not happy because they feel they are not finished, that's great. Just make a new appointment, right? Of course, you can continue to work. Yeah. That's perfectly fine. So there's an also, if you have one-on-one clients, you may want to send follow-up emails. You want to invite clients to other events you create. Maybe you have a friendship circle or something like that, or chanting, meditation group. You can make an appointment for another session if it has been requested or was an option. You can also, make special offers for him, like a comeback coupon or a refer coupon or whatnot, what comes to your mind. Ask to sign up if you have a newsletter and leave a review again if it hasn't happened now. These are all great follow-up activities where you can create an ongoing conversation with your clients. And now I'm at the end. Here we go. So I needed the time. That's great. 2 minutes left. Good timing. And I see you're all very, very tired, which is fine. Is there anything you want to discuss? Are you good? You can revisit everything. We have next weekend, we have a workshop on Saturday, an open workshop. And then we will have, I don't have the schedule, but it's all on the training community side. We will have a practice workshop coming up. And Darshan, I see you on module 1 because you haven't had a module 1 in person yet. So that's also coming up. Vilma will join you because she had to postpone. She couldn't finish this term, so she's going on the next term. And a couple of newbies, of course, a few newbies. And what else is coming up? And look at the community. A few of your fellow trainees have shared wonderful videos from Bert Hellinger. That is really becoming a library already. That's fantastic. If you have anything, if you found anything, please share that in the general family constellation community under Bert Hellinger videos. Yeah, that's the place where you can share all the videos you find.
I tell you, the only thing I can see is the one that Ale shared. That's the only video I see there.
Huh? There are heaps. I have probably shared 5.
No, well, I don't know. Is the only video I can see is that one, because I read your email that says go back and check the news, the page, the training page, and also there was I was trying to...
Ale was posting a video in the wrong topic. So you have to go to the general family constellation community and the Bert Hellinger videos, and that's where you see the Bert Hellinger videos, and there are heaps, not one. Right?
Okay.
And they are public, so there's not an issue with logging in. And if you find some, please post them there. It's lovely to have this kind of library. And what is great that Ale is on the hunt of it, because there are lots of lots of videos from Bert Hellinger when he was in South America. Obviously, they have videotape there, what they normally don't do in Germany. So now you can see when he's talking, I think they all have English subtitles or something like that. Check that out. But and then there's also one when he was in Asia, which is I think is 7 hours or 14 hours or whatnot. Mega Weekend with Bert Hellinger, that is also translated in English or has English subtitles, I think simultaneously translated to English. So yeah, there's lots to look at, and feel free to chat in the group if you want to chat about something. Yeah, and other than that, I see you on Saturday.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
See you next
Bye.
week. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. See ya.